presented by Exquisite Timepieces. More about them in the description down below and later in the video.
Hey everybody, this is Guy with Just Bluefish Watch Reviews, and today we have a pair of watches on the channel. It's a special edition set, and it's limited to just 28 total pieces from the brand Louis Erard. Now, this set is the Louis Erard by Alain Silberstein Le Diptyque US Special Edition set, and it consists of two watches. First, and I'll spare you my feeble attempt at a French accent, but first we have the Le Regulator model, and second, a matching Le Semaine model, both by French architect and designer Alain Silberstein. So yeah, what we've got here is a set of two watches that exemplify the Alain Silberstein design ethos. These watches ooze with whimsical fanfare, that's for sure. And yes, they are a little bit quirky, but that's what makes them a bit more fun and a little bit different than a typical, unimaginative watch from many of the major brands on the market today. Now, as a watch collector, it is easy to get caught up in trying to check a bunch of boxes. And what I mean by that is that you're trying to fill in a collection with basic and stereotypical watch designs. Our collections, they need a diver, so we get a Submariner or a Seamaster. You gotta get a chronograph. So you better snag something like a Speedy or maybe a Hamilton Intramatic. Also, don't forget a GMT and a dress watch, maybe something a little bit more casual too. Before you know it, we have a collection full of, yes, great watches, don't get me wrong, but dare I say, watches that might be a little boring. And while I'm not suggesting that we need a collection of watches like this here, that's probably not what a person is looking for, but maybe they want something a little bit different. This Louis Erard by Alain Silberstein collab might be exactly what you never knew that you needed in your collection. Now, before we talk about the watches, let me give a big thanks to my channel partner and my watch dealer Exquisite Timepieces for letting me borrow these watches for the video. And also a big shout out to Joe McHale over there at Exquisite. If you need anything, I implore you to reach out to Joe, give him a shout by phone or email, and he will definitely take care of you. The phone number over there at the store is 239-227-2932, and you can always email Joe at joe@exquisitetimepieces.com. So, these watches are very similar in terms of specification, with the differences mainly being the watch face, and in the watch complications as well, I suppose. So first, let's go over what they have in common. Now, both of these watches are in 40mm grade 2 titanium watch cases, and they feature 100 meters of water resistance. They both have anti-reflective sapphire crystals that cover the dial, and they both ride on one of the best nylon straps that I have ever seen. There is, of course, an exhibition caseback window, giving you the availability to view the Solita movements running these watches, and both movements offer 38 hours of power reserve. Now, before we talk about what makes them different, let me take a closer look at the straps quickly, because like I said, they really are awesome straps. These nylon straps are permanently joined to the quick-release spring bar end link type system, with one end looping through and back over itself to secure with a hook and loop fastener. And it is incredibly high quality, comfortable, and infinitely adjustable, making it the perfect fit on the wrist regardless of the size of your wrist. So yeah, I do absolutely love these straps. Now, what's different about these, you might ask? Well, quite obviously, it's the dials. One is a regulator style dial, which if you're not familiar, is just a style of dial that puts the emphasis on the minutes hand and generally locates both the hour and the seconds hands to separate subdials within the dial. The other is actually a day-date 3-hand dial, but you might not realize it at a quick glance. At a quick glance, yeah, it does have the same style minutes hand as the previous model, but the hour hand is in a large loop with a triangle pointer. And remember I mentioned it's a day-date dial. Well, the date at 6 o'clock is pretty apparent. But what about that day? That little smiley face is actually a signature Alain Silberstein feature, which shows the day as represented by smiley moods and not words for the days of the week. So are there any negatives on these watches? Well, I'm gonna say it. I think some people are going to find the $8,800 price tag to be a little bit steep. Now, keep in mind that puts them at $4,400 each since there's 2 in the set. And sure, that is certainly a lot of money. And yes, you can probably get more technically advanced watches for $4,400. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time and effort trying to justify that price to people who have already made up their minds on the price the moment that they heard the number. I will say this though, like all luxury watches, you either love it and you have to have it, or it's probably not going to be worth it to you at any price. And keep this in mind. Most people on Earth would say that spending thousands of dollars on a watch is preposterous, but watches are a little bit like artwork. It's appreciated by the individual, and beauty being in the eye of the beholder makes the price pretty much irrelevant if you gotta have it. So, who would I recommend these watches for? Well, I guess I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier in the video. I think that these are for someone with a larger collection of watches that has spent a whole lot of time checking boxes and filling their collections with the usual suspects. You know, Rolex, Omega, Grand Seiko. Great watches, but maybe just a little bit boring. So for that person, perhaps adding a set of watches with a ton of personality might be just the ticket. All right, guys, that'll wrap this one up for today. Let me close this out with a big thank you again to Joe and Exquisite Timepieces one last time for loaning over these amazing watches for the video. I do greatly appreciate it, guys. And of course, give Joe a shout if you have any questions about these watches or anything else that they might sell. I really can't recommend the whole store enough. Now, with all of that said, let me say thanks again to all of you for tuning in and watching. I do really appreciate it. And I guess that's going to go ahead and wrap this one up for today. So until the next one, let me say bye now.